Greetings to all, and guess who finally decided to catch up? Because you know I've been slacking, so let's get cracking. Both of these episodes are just too good to not anticipate being analyzed as we move even closer into the climax of this season. And so you already know what I'm about to say, it's time to roll that film. Well, let's begin the video talking about the Planters' flight to the second temple, as they first struggle with simply landing due to the cold weather. Also, compared to last time, Amphibia actually has a safe pocket to burrow himself into like a baby kangaroo. However, right from the start, we're teased with woolly mantises rather than woolly mammoths, and I guess a giant spider in ice rather than a yeti or a caveman, I suppose. There's even a gigantic fish underneath the frozen water. Maybe this diagram was trying to say something about these worlds' connections. Seriously. Eventually, they make it to the temple, and just like we expected, the gate entrance didn't exactly seem all that extravagant, as it at first glance seemed quite out of place, much like the ancient text Marcy pointed out to be vague. Nevertheless, the messages mentioned something to do with heart. So this temple is officially the one for Anne for obvious reasons. There also was the reveal of the same creature we witnessed from season 1 within the Bazaar episode. The same one where she also mentions how Anne could be the one she was searching for, and this was before she had even seen the music box. And just as expected, it turns out that she knew quite a bit about the music box, as she's secretly the trial tester for the second temple. A similarity of what happens during their visit with her before they officially meet again is Valeriana's lunch break, since apparently lunch is the most important meal of the day to her. They finally are welcomed inside of her tent, where she explains about the dangers of the path to the temple, one of them being how using caterpillar coats are recommended instead. Something that seemingly becomes a test to see if Anne's heart truly is worthy, as when they make their way up to the mountain, Valeriana signals a certain bird that consumes caterpillars to attack the team. Of course, setting up a test to see if Anne is willing to sacrifice her own coat in time to save everyone, which is something that Marcy herself couldn't solve. And that's mainly because Marcy was so busy trying to figure out a way for them to escape without having to sacrifice any protection from the icy temperatures that it wasn't enough to beat Anne's quick reaction. Because like we've seen before, Anne is even aware of Marcy's more logical way of solving issues. However, it comes to show that both of them excel in a particular area. The next test was to see if Anne was brave enough to outrun an avalanche in order to potentially save someone's life in the midst of it, despite Valeriana's warnings. And after disobeying one final time, Anne is soon sent into another realm in order to face off against one final trial, which includes the likes of her fighting Valeriana herself, revealing that she apparently is the true owner of the Calamity Box as teased within the Bazaar episode, and was a way to get Anne to fight. During their battle, she unveils her knowledge on all of Anne's past bad deeds, like when she stole Amphibia wallet, lied to the family about being sick, drove Bessie without Hot Pop's permission, and last but surely not least, stole the music box. And one of the main details spliced within the Bazaar episode was of Valeriana hinting how she knows all, much like a fortune teller. After Anne confesses her past sins, Valeriana makes one large leap towards her to take the box, only for Anne to move just in a nick of time. Anne saves her in the end regardless of her quarrel with the guide, and little did she know, she had officially passed the final test of the second temple, proving not only her pure heart, but her actions of taking responsibility. I was just saying the last episode analysis that responsibility is a big key factor within this season for some reason. And so just like what occurs after Marcy completes her trials, Anne is set up to charge the stone in order to power up the Calamity Box. Only this time, however, she was unsuccessful in fully charging the gem to its full capacity after panicking under the impression that the Planters and Marcy were in danger, which ended up just being them reacting to cat videos on Marcy's phone. Something I found ridiculous when I first saw this, because I mean, it sounded like they were screaming noises of terror for crying out loud. Anywho, as for the clearly incomplete transferring of the blue energy source witnessed within the episode, I feel as if it's actually a good thing, as one of two things I believe will happen. Either these gems are secretly draining certain special abilities from the characters, but thankfully it doesn't affect Anne 100%, or, my personal favorite, King Andreas will plan on using the Calamity Box for his own intentions, possibly to pursue his revenge plan, which I believe was part of what he revealed unto Marcy during the mid-season finale, and something that to this day has not been revealed. And now that I've got you all thinking intensely about that last theory bomb I just dropped, let's continue on to part B of the episode. Barrel's Warhammer, and boy was it extreme. It all begins with the Toads all meeting up with one another, just as was mentioned to King Andrus within the first temple episode. And that's not all, it was also most importantly confirmed that both Sasha and Grime are planning on taking over the entire capital. I personally don't see how they're gonna be capable of overpowering a giant such as King Andrus and his elite forces, but only time will tell. It's also possible that the fight between Anne and Sasha won't even be the main battle of this season, but yet a mere teaser compared to what's to happen soon between King Andrus and his enemies. So within the get-together arranged by Grime and Sasha, it includes the 3 other Toads that control their very own towers, one of them including the likes of Grime's sister. We also get from this that Grime is, or at least was, more than likely the Toad representing the South Tower, as it's revealed that the other 3 Toads control both the East and the West, as well as the North. It's also noteworthy to talk about the absence of Bog, who just took Grime's place in taking over the tower, and the other Toads seemingly are aware of Grime's treasonous ways against Newtopia. So I wonder just how seriously the rest of the valley will be taking Bog while in command. Right before they begin their presentation, we see the origin behind Sasha's symbol on her cape, which was just from Percy simply making a team symbol. Now surely I wasn't the only one who assumed it was something more unique, like an emblem for a promotion or being higher in command. Plus, it looks to be similar looking to the same symbols used for Amphibian ancient text, so it's only natural to assume something like that. I mean, come on, it's everywhere in the show. After the group's marvelous performance on overthrowing King Andrus and taking over the kingdom, all of the Toads nearly agreed to come on board. That is, until they refuse to work with humans like Sasha. And this is the part where Sasha is also hinted at the fact that both Anne and Marcy are working together to get their way back home without her, which enrages her. It still wasn't enough to prove her worth quite yet, as one of the eldest of Toads suggests that whoever wields the legendary Warhammer of Beryl the Brave is the true leader of the Toads, advising that Sasha and her team bring it to them. And of course, out of pure fury, Sasha accepts the offer without any hesitation, something that must have stemmed from her anger towards the idea of Sasha feeling left out. The team journey their way to the legend only to surprisingly have their eyes on it instantly, with the only issue being that the Warhammer is extremely heavy. I thought that at first it was going to be like Thor's hammer, where only the chosen one can wield its glory, but then later on we see Grime do the same, so that may not be the case. However, before they officially begin their intensified adventure into finding the Warhammer, Sasha tries comforting both Braddock and Percy by saying that as long as they show a signal, Sasha will be more than willing to turn back. And if you know Sasha and her manipulative ways, you should already know where this is going. They struggle with the immense weight put into the ancient weapon, but before they can truly lift it all the way, the beast that lies right underneath the very object awakens. Something that is described to be a narwhal, which by the way is a literal animal found on the planet Earth as well, so who else thought of Star Versus? But on a serious note, the world of Amphibia and Earth could be more connected than we think they are. Anywho, Sasha being the absolute hardcore diehard part 2 awesome commander she is, she takes control of the narwhal using its unicorn-like horn. But as Braddock and Percy both plead and beg Sasha to stop and turn back, and even after signaling her to do so as well, she goes back on her word and doesn't follow through. Eventually they soon make it near the Toad Tower once more, only this time realizing that the horn wasn't enough to control the beast. So they attempt to do the unthinkable and instead go on using the Warhammer again. Only this time, with the help of Sasha's strength from within, she manages to miraculously pull out the Warhammer with her bare hands, which comes to show the lengths she was willing to go through in order to reunite back with Anne and Marcy deep down. And that's not to mention it's because of her bossy ways, but also because she secretly enjoyed having her friends around, something she blatantly admits to Grime in spite of her tough emotional shell. This also is coincidentally the same time we at last witness the very first time we see Sasha's eyes glow, resembling her true colors. Yeah, I know, roll the credits. Wait, we're not there yet. Sasha thankfully is able to make control of the giant right on time just as the horn of the beast impales the tower. And as for those who were curious to know, I couldn't translate the symbols, they probably were just there for design, shockingly enough. Though they were successful with bringing back the Warhammer as instructed, Sasha runs into the unfortunate reality of her not staying loyal to both Braddock and Percy, soon losing them as comrades. And this is something that is a result of how her devious ways no longer work for her own benefit. Plus, not only is she losing control, but her friends as well. Grime explains that they unfortunately had reached their limits and that all dreams have their price, yet not all are willing to pay for it. And well, that's the sadistic ending of this episode, and there's still much to think of. Like if the supposed tadpole tale was true, and if this truly makes Sasha the leader of the Toads, just as teased within the promo art. And in the end, will Bog and his new elites join forces with Grime and their rebellion, or will he remain under Andrias' command? And I honestly believe that the latter will happen. A war indeed is coming, ladies and gentlemen, and we've only just barely scratched the surface. This has been your boy, The Next Big Thing, and I hope to catch you all in the next one. Peace!